talk, so I'd like to read through the letter quickly and see if there were any other questions that came up. My understanding is that Lawrence sent this to his supervisors, but didn't actually give us an answer to anything yet. So I
Right.
think we need to find out if there are other questions in regard to this. And yeah,
So you can go ahead and read it, Lisa. To
okay. So and you guys should have this in front of you if you want to follow along. Our board's questions have to do with the two different funding emails that you sent out to us. Although we are sending some questions to you now, we're hoping to be able to have a conversation with you as the full board sometime after your return. He is gone until next week, maybe at a regular board meeting. We will likely have additional questions after discussing the answers you send back for these initial questions. We'll be meeting as the full board at a special meeting on the 29th of October. Here are our initial questions for the two types of funding mentioned in your emails. A, does the district have a choice between the two options you sent us? So we still don't at this point even know if we have a choice. B, we are very concerned with how the district may be affected by tying the Meters Well project to the regional consolidation project. Will agreeing to the 100% grant lock us into the project even if the state cannot provide enough funding for consolidation? C, we had hoped that we could get pipeline funding as an incentive project tied to the consolidation. Will the meter well project use up that incentive funding if we take the 100% grant? And D, is the length of time for approval of funds different for the different funding types? Then there were some specific questions specific to each type of possible funding. So the one type of possible funding is 90% grant, 10% loan. First, was there something? First question, can FPPUD use our own reserve dollars, and can we count other non-state funds that have been spent on Well 5 work and the replacement project already, in place of taking any kind of loan? This would reduce project costs and possible issues with the community, i.e. no bond-related costs, no Prop 218 issues. B, will district or loan funds need to be spent first before any grant money is allocated? And if so, how will that work if we are pulling the 10% from our own reserve? C, would the construction of the meters and well need to start simultaneously or can they be phased? D, can the district get repaid the grant share of costs if we have to proceed with the well 5 phase of the project early due to possible well failure before final approval of project funds? And then the second set of questions is on the 100% grant, which was the second. So he had said the 90-10 loan, and then he wrote us some information on 100% grant. A, would this grant be considered our consolidation incentive project, or would FPPUD still be eligible for consolidation incentive funds to cover pipeline replacement per previous discussions? B, can a conditional agreement letter be used to spell out what the district can or cannot agree to? Without having final state approval and funding needed to complete the regional project, FPPUD cannot enter into an unconditional agreement. The board cannot ask the community of Fraser Park to pay for Lake of the Woods and or other portions of consolidation work that do not directly improve Fraser Park and justify any water rate increases. We are a severely disadvantaged community and are already charging users a high rate for services. Fraser Park cannot commit to construction without knowing we will have funding to complete the project. So those are the questions between the ad hoc when we had our first discussion with Dave and Oscar, and we came up, or actually, I guess at the meeting too, where we came up with some stuff, and then Director Nyman and I went back over it, and I also had Oscar and Dave take a look at it and make some changes. So that's kind of where we are right now. Uh, like I said, there's no answers thus far. He did start to answer, I guess, on his own, and then sent it to his superiors for their comments before he's sending it to us. And I think, really today what we need to do is kind of talk a little bit more about the two possible, I don't know still if we don't even have an option, but if we do, we need to talk about the two possibilities, even without his answers, I guess, for now. See if there's any other questions we need to ask him. Hopefully we'll be able to get them at a board meeting, but I'm not sure. And I think we need to probably start wording a conditional letter for funding, even if we don't have this worked out yet, because if we do decide to go with 100%, that would have to be conditional. So that's kind of where we're at on this. That's A, B, and C. But I guess we should start with A and see if there are more questions, since the full board didn't really get to, think of or ask specific questions.
I think they're all very good questions, and awaiting response is probably, like you say, going to fuel other questions. But at this time, I'd just like to see what the responses were to the ones you have posed.
I agree with Jerry. This letter is beautifully written. And it does size up our questions. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
Okay.
Terry, any questions, concerns?
No, I had said last week, I was concerned about tying everything together and then the well failing, and then where did that put us? And so that's what you wrote in there, so.
Okay. So I guess we don't really have more, and we need to wait for Lawrence's reply. I think
Yeah.
we do want to talk about the two funding options a little bit, and whether we're leaning, again, I guess a lot of it depends on his answers, but whether we're leaning towards one or the other.
Yeah, looking at it, my personal opinion is, I think the 90%, 10% loan is the better option. I'd rather not tie anything to the regional project concerning the well. I think that I like we said, we have to wait for his answers, but I'm concerned that they want a conditional saying we're going to go forward whether we have funding or not. And if they don't provide funding, then all of a sudden we can't do a 40-year loan for $20 million. We don't have that. We wouldn't be able to support that through rate increases, and it wouldn't be something that we could support. So so that's just my opinion.
Else want to speak to that?
I agree. I don't want it to get tied to the other project.
Okay, if there's
I didn't know
I-
on either one without the questions being answered.
Right.
Because I think that once we get the answers back, that's only going to give us more questions.
Personally, I'm in favor, just for the record, of the 10%, 90%, 10%. Again, because I think I'm a little concerned, although we'll see what his answers are, that the incentive funds, that it would tie up the incentive funds, which I'd rather see go towards pipeline. I also think it might be a little bit faster if we go the 90-10, because we do have some money to initially put in. And I just, think that maybe, and I'm very concerned with tying things to the larger project when the larger project is 5 years off still and has, multiple potential problems like not getting full funding. So yeah, that's where I stand on it.
Yeah,
again-
I'll agree. I agree with that, because we had been led down a path that said that none of the costs were going to come out of our pocket, and now it's starting to get a little fuzzy there.
Yeah, taken a lot longer than they had originally expected to.
Yeah. Then So that kind of gives us an idea. So we are leaning towards the 90-10, depending on what Lawrence says, and if we still have that option. And then I guess the last thing, the 4C, would be a discussion vote on the conditional letter for funding. So I think that we do need to start working on that, so it's ready just in case we don't have the other option. The 90-10 option is not offered, or I don't know. So I
How can
think,
we start on something when we don't know the answers?
well, because it doesn't need the answers for that, it would be a conditional letter based on the 100%. So if for some reason, and we could always use that letter for the incentive project for the pipeline as well, because I think if we do get an incentive project, we'd still need to do a conditional letter, because we can't guarantee that we can move forward if we don't get enough funding. Basically it's the same. So that conditional letter potentially could be used both for this and for pipeline incentive project if that's offered to us. So I just want to, I guess, get a go ahead on, I mean, I guess the project ad hoc can move forward with that, but I just want to get kind of a go ahead on that, and just come up with a draft, so that should that be the way that we're going, we already have something kind of in place that that we can fix a little bit, but that, we're already started on it. Because what happens with all this stuff is it takes a while to do this. Like right now, you'll see on some of the next items, stuff's holding us up because we haven't, we didn't start, we're just starting it now. So,
Lisa, on the conditional letter, you're talking about Fraser Park is willing to do this and not willing to do that?
right, it would
Correct.
be a conditional agreement letter. So basically it would say, if we got 100% grant, we're able to do this, but not that. Yeah, basically that's, and we'd have to run that probably by our attorney, or, I don't know. I don't even know if that's something that the state would accept, but if the state tells us they will accept that, we definitely would need it.
Well, do you need a motion?
I don't know if we need a motion yet, because it's not, it's just going to be a draft, but I think I just need a
Board directive.
board directive, right, to go ahead and start drafting that and have it just, in draft form. But if it's something that we need, it'll be that much further along. So I just want to get an okay on drafting that within the project ad hoc.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, it's good to me. Thank you guys, ad hoc.
Yes, I agree. I mean, and a lot of the things that you've already written in the letter or the questions to Lawrence kind of shows what we're willing to do and not willing to do.
Right. Yeah, it just needs to be in a more formal letter that we probably have to get
Right.
a nod from the attorney before we would formally turn it into anybody.
Okay, so it seems like we're in favor of that. So there's no further discussion. On to number 5, discussion vote on forming an ad hoc committee to create a budget projection.
Right. So the issue with this is that we already dissolved the budget ad hoc, and basically
Uh-huh.
we need to have another budget ad hoc, because I started looking at this, draft, this kind of worksheet that they gave. It definitely needs changes on it, I think. And I think what we need to do is go into the budget and recraft how we write our budget, so that it puts things into these categories, so it's a little easier to figure out. Because right now it's like really hard to add up, and I really need a Excel sheet that adds things. So so I think in order to do this in a little bit better manner, that that we should re approve the budget ad hoc, and move, I don't have to be on it, someone else can be on it, and I can show them what to do. But I think we need a budget ad hoc. to go over this.
Lisa, the paper that says Fraser Park Public Utility District draft, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, so I think basically there can be a revenue expense worksheet like this where we come up with a projection to 22, 23, which is actually another item on here we need to vote on. But they were asking for about a 3-year projection. Dave was actually suggesting, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, like a 5-year projection. We could do either one. Both of them have some issues because without RCAC's input, I think that we're going to be, doing it based on not raising the rates, but that doesn't mean that we can't project based on other items the same way that we project our usual budget. So I think that, we need to have some sort of worksheet that we do. And like I said, the problem with the worksheet is because it's not looking at all the items. You have to lump the items. And so we just have to make a decision. And I want to make a decision when we get to that part of how to lump these items. So I think that, it's important, like what we call what, and there's some questions on that. So I think we need names of things as the full board, and then we can rework the budget to fall into those categories and project from there. So it's probably gonna, and this is like a short, like we need to get this in ASAP. So we're talking probably only a week or two. So it's gonna be like a quick ad hoc, but it needs to be an intense, like it needs to be done.
Question?
Yes, go ahead, Director Garcia.
I'd like to move that we reestablish our
Well,
budget committee.
before we move it, who's going to be on it? I think Lisa should be on it.
I was going to use that as part of my
Oh, okay, go
motion,
ahead.
and I would like to reestablish it with the same people that were on it, in light of the fact that we need to move quickly with this. I think she has a very good handle on the numbers and how they got there. And
I have one question. Becky, do you think you're up to being, because you were on the budget ad hoc committee?
I told Lisa I would try. If it's going to be real intense, does somebody want to take my place? I mean, I will try, and I know all that we went through before, and now we're going to be working without Linda, right?
Right.
And working without Johnny?
No, we're probably still gonna need some ideas from Johnny, but maybe not as much. But what I'm suggesting is that we take the budget spreadsheet that I have and rearrange it. It can stay in that rearranged form. It won't really hurt anything. So, although we'll have to talk to when we get a new.
And how do we go about projecting for? Do we just multiply times 3?
No. So it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of looking at trends. So it's looking at what we did previously.
Okay.
Looking at, what we think, like, do we think that our, late connections are going to change in a price? Do we think our water, how much do we think our water sales are going to change? I mean, we're still looking at another COVID year potentially. So we've got, this year, which we projected. And then we have to decide if it's going to be 3 years or 5 years. I think 21, 22 could still have some COVID issues. So we have to take that into consideration. Hopefully by 22, 23, that's gone. I don't know. But, I anticipate that we maybe would be making a little bit more money. And so we just have to kind of take into account what's already going on, tax assessments, who's paying, who's able to pay, what our economy is going to be like. All that stuff we did on our initial budget. So I don't think it's ever to just tack on 3% or
Terry,
5%.
do you think you'd be willing to work on this ad hoc?
I'd say I would love to, because I'd like to learn, but I work 3 days a week.
She's only available on Tuesdays and Thursdays, correct?
Correct. So that, I don't know if that's gonna put too much of a time crunch.
Yeah, I think it'd be better if somebody had more availability because I have a lot of stuff going on too, so it's hard if I have to work around a really tight schedule, I think. I mean, I'd like to get this done literally within 2 weeks, so like next week and then finish it up the following week. I think,
I-
by the next meeting, which is, it needs to be done. We need to get it to Lawrence. Otherwise, it's
I
gonna
don't
hold.
understand. I'm sorry, Lisa. I shouldn't have interrupted.
Oh, it's okay. So, the big issue with the time crunch is that Lawrence wants this. And every day that we don't give it to him is another day that the project is held up. So he can't approve the well 5 meter replacement or whatever else we're doing without this and
Yeah,
without
it's
some,
tied to that, yeah.
yeah, it's tied to that.
If you can't do it, Becky, I'll volunteer.
You volunteer?
Okay, that sounds good.
Great.
I'm
Okay,
on the
so-
hill for the next 2 weeks, for the majority of time. So, Lisa, just let me know, as far in advance when you want to meet and I'll put it in my calendar.
Okay, so then we need someone else to make the motion, probably Terry or Becky, and naming those individuals.
Yes.
I motion that we set up a budget committee, ad hoc committee with Lisa Schellenberg and Jerry Garcia.
Yeah, okay, a budget projection committee. Friendly amendment. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay,
with the
Director,
friendly amendment of an ad hoc budget committee or
budget projection.
projection.
Okay, so Director Kelling has seconded it. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia.
Abstain.
Okay, Director Gibson.
Yes.
Okay, Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
An abstain.
Okay, motion carried. The ad hoc committee has been established. Okay, 6, discussion vote on a 3-year budget projection.
So we just put this on here so we can decide how far we want to go forward. I don't know if Dave, if you want to speak to whether it's a better idea for us to try to go 5 years forward or which might take just a little bit longer, but not,
I mean,
or,
it's a projection. It's a projection, and obviously your rates can change in that, but the state just needs some basis to understand how you're going to move forward, how you project to move forward. So, I mean, we've used, and the state has those 5-year budget spreadsheets, which you have to sort of consolidate everything. But they're useful, and you can get to see projected rates based on, and there's inflation factors and stuff like that. So it's a handy spreadsheet, although the way you folks are very detailed, so it may be too crude for you folks because you want more information. You have a lot of information to put in there.
right, and I wasn't even sure. Okay, so is that the sheet that I was playing with? Did that come from the state? I didn't know where that came from exactly, that revenue expense worksheet. The 3-year one, is that a state one or did you get that somewhere else? And if there,
No, I'm referring to like a 5-year spreadsheet. So
okay, so do you have that? Do you have that
Yeah.
spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could send that to me and to Jerry,
okay.
I think, and then, yeah, I mean, I don't see a huge difference in plugging in the numbers. I think the biggest issues, and I wanted to go over that quickly before we move on. I think the biggest issues are how we clump that stuff together. And so, unfortunately, I don't have the state worksheet to look at. The way that this worksheet worked, some stuff I really felt like needed to be changed. And if we change stuff, I mean, the state's probably okay with us clumping it in whatever way works for us. Is that correct? Or do they have to, or are they looking for it in a particular way? Because like this, the one that I was sent had capacity on it, but we don't really do capacity separate. So that doesn't really make any sense, but we just do water sales. And so I just wanted to tell you, so, my thoughts were for that we lump water sales and we lump all three of our water sales. So it would be residential, business, and bulk, and that be one category.
Mhm.
And then, I thought we should lump all of our sort of late fees, new connection fee, reconnection fees, and that would be another category. That would not include like credit card fees, although it could. I wasn't sure, but I was thinking not. I was thinking that connection fees are still kind of a operating revenue as opposed to credit card fees, which are sort of a non-operating revenue kind of. So I wasn't sure exactly how to lump that. I did think that we should lump all our assessments, our Kern County assessments, as a separate category. So it would be all of our tax assessments and also our all our tax assessments is one thing. I thought that we should do our interest investment income as our administrative fees, our gain loss on sales of equipment, which we don't really have, or no, that would be other. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look at the two different things. So wait a minute. So water sales is one category. Fees that have to do more with operating fees is another category. Other operating revenue would be actually, I guess, like an administrative fees, because those are still kind of based on operating stuff. Go ahead.
What would fall under the administrative fee income? Can you give me some examples?
So I'm a little unsure about all of this, but I believe it's some of our other fees that have to do with it kind of clumps. It's kind of weird because I think it clumps in some of the same sections as like the late and other fees. I need to look at how Linda was. Do you remember, Becky?
No, I don't remember.
I don't either exactly. I believe it had to do with, other sorts of like
Income that didn't fall into other categories, I guess.
Bank fees
Okay.
that we get, although some of that is like the cash back savings. I think it is some of the bank stuff because we don't see that.
What about that money that was unclaimed in those accounts? It turned out we had more than just one. Would that fall under that category as well?
If we hold on to that money, if it's money we make as opposed to money we pay out, then yeah, I guess it would probably
Okay.
fall under administrative.
Okay. Thank you.
And you and I can talk about that, Jerry. So I think like some of the ways that, we kept refining some of the ways that Linda was doing it. So
I get it. Sure.
that can be further refined. We just have to make sure that if we change something, that there's a path that's followed and the auditors know what we're doing.
Okay.
So, but I think the important thing is to figure out how we want to lump this stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
So I don't know. The questions I had for Dave maybe and Oscar is what are typically, like, I wish I had the state. Do you have a copy of the state that you could send us worksheet so we could look at it quickly? Because I know
Dave.
Dave or Oscar? Are you
have to
there?
unmute
Dave, you
yourself.
got to unmute yourself.
I'm going through my
trying to
emails
send
right
you
now,
one
see
that
if I
isn't
could
filled
find
out
it
by
here.
somebody else.
Hello?
Hello?
Say again, Dave. Go ahead, Dave. I
trying-
didn't hear.
I'm trying to send you one that isn't filled out by somebody else, so I wouldn't be disclosing somebody else's,
Yeah.
Information.
right.
Right. Okay, 'cause if we look at that, just before we move on, I'd really like to just make sure that we're thinking about things correctly, because some of it's a little, like, I'm a little unsure what it really falls under. Like, I started trying to change categories because I couldn't quite figure out what it falls, So,
Well, I think that's something that you would do in the ad hoc committee anyways, Lisa. I don't think we need, I mean, I think
well,
I think the board's gonna be okay with how you tailor it to what the state worksheet provides.
And I
um,
do, and I do think we probably need to go out 5 years. That's what the state really wants.
so maybe we should just go ahead and vote on 3 or 5 years and just decide that right now. And then if Dave sends me that, maybe Jerry, you and I can, because I hate to keep taking up Dave's time outside of, that's why I wanted to kind of think about some of the stuff in the meeting, but I
Well,
guess.
I wouldn't paint yourselves into a corner. If the state's asking for a 3-year worksheet, then you could do a 3-year worksheet. I mean, you could just take that 5-year one and just go to year 3.
Yeah, I think the 5-year will actually help us with our CAC though. So I'm okay with that because I think we
Okay.
need that anyway. And I think they're going to give us 5 years projection. So I'm not opposed to that. I was thinking it would take a lot longer, but when I started kind of trying to plug in some numbers, like I actually have more numbers than what you guys have in front of you right now. So when I started trying to project forward, I don't think 5 years is going to make a huge difference. So I think once you kind of have an idea of how things are changing, you can kind of use that as the formula. So so yeah, so why don't we maybe vote on that, Brahma? And then the only thing, maybe Dave, if we could just, did you already send that? Look,
I haven't found it.
you haven't found one.
Okay, you'll have to let him look for that. So I
So let's-
entertain a motion on that we make it a 5-year budget projection. If everyone's okay with that, I would entertain a motion from somebody.
I will move that we do a 5-year budget projection, that the ad hoc does a 5-year projection.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Director Gibson has seconded it. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia.
Aye.
Okay, Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
and Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, that's 501, motion carried. I also want to make a correction. When I did say the motion carried before, it was 3-0, 2 abstentions. I didn't state that previously. I accidentally said 5-0 and motion carried. It's 3 from on the previous motion to do the budget ad hoc committee. So that correction. Okay.
So can I just say for the oh, I guess it'd be out of order. Never mind. I'll talk
Okay.
to Jared.
Number 7, discussion vote on Cal OES Power Resiliency Grant application.
I had an opportunity to read it, and it seems as though we fit all the criteria that they're asking for. I also had read the descriptions of the answers to the questions they're having as to what we're going to use it for, what our plan was. Very well written. And I think I would like to move that we move forward with the Cal OES Power Resiliency Grant application.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we can make the motion and then I have some questions.
Okay. All right. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Director Gibson has seconded it. Okay, now open for discussion.
Okay, so I have some questions about why, what we're actually asking for. So I kind of feel like we should be asking for a generator at each booster, which right now we're one short of that, I believe. And I believe we should be asking for permanent generators at our well sites and a separate and one additional generator that's actually a portable. So
Well,
I would like to see,
what we're asking for is 4 stationaries and 2 portables.
I know, I'm not in agreement with that.
Well, why not? We have 4 remote sites and then 2 well sites with booster stations. And then the portables are good because if something happens and one stationary is down for maintenance or something happens, we could still tow the 2 stationaries around. I mean, the 2 towable ones around to keep us in water.
Except that what you've told me is that the portables are not really able to get to most of the boosters anyway, except for the 2.
Well, no, the difference is instead of having a 200 kW that weighs 12,000 pounds, we're going to have something more in line like a 60 that weighs a third of the weight. And still, if we got in that situation, we would get something to tow it up there. The stationary ones would go at Pine One, Harrison, Elm, and Wolf Tank. So in reality, we only need one more. We only need one towable, but since it's grant money, we might as well shoot for as much as we can get. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm just a little bit, I almost want to see us have it at maybe our most important well site at one that's permanent as well. So I don't know if we need 2 towables. I think we might need 1 towable, but I don't really see, I almost see like well 5 being our, well 5 that's going to turn into well 7 being potentially our most critical well. And so if we had a permanent,
Except for it's
there.
not.
Huh?
Well 6 is always going to be our most critical well
That's
because
the one
that
in the
feeds 2/3 of the town. But yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed. I mean, if that's what you want, then that's what we could do. And just for your information, these things are designed to where if you wanted to make a towable stationary, you just remove it off the trailer and put it on a slab. So we could do whatever we want. This came up. We've had less than a week to even decide what to do on this. By the time we finally found out about it, and I was trying to tackle filling it out. There was just too much that had to come together in too short of a time. So Tiffany stepped up and volunteered to do it, which she's done wonders on it. But
Yeah,
just
she's done
trying
an
to
incredible job.
yeah, she's done an incredible job. And in the matter of just a couple of days, I've managed to get a quote from one rental place, and that has not even come in yet for the quote. He's promising it today, but he also promised it yesterday. And then I got a quick quote from P&J to install it. So, I mean, everything's coming together like last minute, dire time crunch trying to get some numbers for this. So it's been a fly by night grant.
You have to apply tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it has to be turned in by tomorrow, which means that Tiffany's got to try to get it in this afternoon before she goes home. So we're just shooting for what we can get as fast as we can. If we had a whole month to do this, we would have a bunch of different options and quotes and all that kind of stuff that could have came in from multiple people. But I'm hoping that we're not tied to anything. They're going to look at the rough draft of it all and then tell us that they're going to grant the money. I would imagine there's going to be some oversight as to what we do, and we would have to go out to bid because this is going to be a substantial amount of money. I'm sure that we can't just be given the money and just spend it how we want to.
Yeah, the reason why I'm a little worried about it is that they grade you on, possible points, the points and stuff. So
yeah, which is when I read it, I think that we're hitting all the high points. The high points are reliable water. The big one that I've heard makes a big
Fire.
difference is not being able to provide fire water in the case of fires. So that's a real big one. Having towables that we could get around if something does happen with the stationary one, we can still get around. You know, I don't know. It's just, I mean, we're doing the best we can. I think we hit all the high points. We're severely disadvantaged. We need it for the fire water. We need it for our system. I've did a rough estimate that we've been affected by about 200 hours, man hours during power outages. I mean, all this stuff that we're managing to pull together in just a couple of days is pretty miraculous, really. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Tiffany being so great at it, there is no way I could have even had the application then. Like I said, and like I said, we're not set in stone. If you want 5 stationaries and 1 towable, then when we went to order them, we would just not order it with a trailer, and then it would still be the spec'd out generator for those sites, because I sent them all the information for each site, what we needed, and instead of it being blown out of proportion like quad, I told them what would be running in an emergency. So that's what they're waiting for from the factory to spec those out. So the generators are still going to be the same whether we make them towable or not. It'll just be a little bit less money if we make it, less money to purchase them up front, but more money to install them. A rough estimate from P&J to install a stationary generator is $17,000.
They don't even pour a slab, do they, to set the generator on?
Yeah, I believe that P&J quoted the slab, but all the trenching and excavation and backfill would have to be done by us. But yeah, we would pour slabs and set them, and then we would have to put security cages over them so nobody could steal them. And but I haven't even gotten a quote for that. If we get since we were gonna spend our own money on this, I feel like if we get all the generators and installation cost, if something else comes up that we have to eat the cost, we're still far better off.
The important thing is getting it done today.
Yeah, getting it in, and I'm still hounding all these people for quotes, trying to get all the information that we need.
Well, Tiffany, are you able to put in any overtime hours for tomorrow if we need to put it in tomorrow? Because we still need to have people sign it and everything else.
Yeah, if I need to be here tomorrow, I can be here tomorrow. Up until I have something at 4 o'clock, so probably up to about 1 o'clock.
Yeah, and if Tiffany needs help, going around getting signatures or something, I can certainly do that as well. It's not a problem with that, but I mean, hopefully we have all the information come in today. I got the P&J quote. Now I'm waiting for PTS generator quote to come in. When that comes in, that should be the finalized stuff, and then she'll get it all put together, and then we'll go around for signatures, whether it's tonight or tomorrow. If it's just signatures that she needs, then I'll just do it tomorrow morning, and Tiffany won't have to.
So you'll be hounding them this afternoon for the quotes and say,
I have been for 3 days. I talked to him twice today, and he says he's trying to.
I know you are, Johnny. I just bring.
He said he's trying to get the final. He said he had all the pricing, but he had to add spark arresters because we're in the forest. So we wanted to make sure it was safe.
Yeah.
Forest. So.
No, Lake of the Woods. Do you know if they've done any of this generator stuff? I know that, Pam does it for Krista. I was just wondering if she gave you any price, if that would help.
Actually, yeah, I did email Pam and asked her, and she gave me, I got the email, I haven't opened it yet because she just sent it, but she gave me the quotes that she got for Krista. So as an absolute backup, I do have that.
Okay.
I wanted to add a couple of things. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. On the project narrative, I just wanted to add the fact that, if we run out of water in a tank, that we have to issue a boil notice, and that could be a problem. Just to, that can also be a problem. It doesn't really say anything about that.
It does on our emergency
On the emergency
response
plan.
plan, it
Yeah.
says that. But if
And
you
it-
don't
and
mind, I
it-
do have,
I don't think that they're going to really care about our having to walk around and post boil notices. I think their main concerns is people are not running out of water and fire water. Apparently, the fire water is a huge deal with them. If we can't keep water in the tanks and we have a big fire or forest fire, that's a huge deal for them.
Okay, and I'm a little confused about the 5 booster stations, but we want 4. So which, okay, both wells have boosters, correct?
No,
Oh, well 6 doesn't.
well 6 does not.
Right.
It's
Only well
just a well.
5.
But the portable generator you're talking about will be at well 5, but it'll also run the booster, the well and the booster.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll store it in our yard, obviously, until we need it. But
And that's easy accessible right there. So
yeah, absolutely. That's super easy. That's why I wasn't too worried about it. And again, I mean, if we really got these are going to be considerably smaller. Plus, we're talking about getting another truck that could tow things 4-wheel drive, and it would easily be able to pull it up. We just don't have a 4-wheel drive right now to tow them. But worst comes to worst, we could always hire somebody to come and tow it with a 4-wheel drive to a site if it was a remote site
Emergency.
we couldn't get to.
yeah.
The stationary generators, I'm asking for propane, so we don't have to deal with wet stacking and Tier 4 compliance and all this stuff that we have to deal with diesel motors. So that's going to make everything better.
And why not battery run? Is it just too expensive?
Well, it's not just that. There's no way to get quotes on stuff like that without contacts in 2 days, and that's basically what I've had to get quotes. So there's just no way. Plus, when you start having all the battery backups and stuff, we got to start looking at a way to house them and keep them out safe. One of the sites that we're putting it in, we don't even have a fence around it.
Right, but one of the things that they're looking at is, my understanding of this grant, that's something that they're trying to also look at is doing, powering it in a way that's efficient.
Yeah, that is one of the options, but I don't even know if the battery backup could be big enough to run 3-phase 480 electricity to store it. So that's going to require a lot of research, and you can't get those kind of quotes in a day. Solar would be great too. At maybe some of our sites, if we had the area to go, but it's so much trying to get that stuff set up. We didn't have time.
The way the battery one works is it's either charging while everything's functioning or it's charging solar. Either way, you can do both. But then when you lose power, it's gonna, power the generator. And I mean, the better way is to have both, so that if you don't have a way of recharging it, that it's able to charge solar.
No, I absolutely 100% know how they work. What I don't know is it's a big difference trying to power, like say, our office with battery power that's got 110, that the biggest draw on it is the refrigerator, compared to something that's sucking 480 3-phase huge amounts of electricity. I don't know. That's what is going to decide whether or not we could put batteries. That's a huge draw on a battery.
Yeah, I mean, I know they have them because I saw that they have those Tesla big giant, they use them for commercial buildings and stuff now. So,
and it takes a lot of,
But it's still not going to be the same.
yeah, I mean, eventually we could certainly try to do that. I mean, maybe we can get a grant for solar and, put it over we've talked about that before. It's just, we have so many things going on right now that there's just no way to research that stuff in however many days we've had. I think Tiffany's
I
only
have
had
a
4 days to
question.
work on it. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Johnny.
no worries.
okay, we're just going to get like one lump sum, or when we do these reports four times a year, are we going to be able to get additional funding? Like if we don't do batteries now and we do batteries later,
Well,
is there going to be additional funding?
well, I mean, there's no way to forecast that. There's no way to know what else they're going to do. Like I said, if we had a month, we could have looked at more options for us, but we didn't have that time. CSDA literally just the other day gave us the information, and just what we're doing. You see, I'm sitting here looking at my email constantly, hoping that the quote comes in that we need. So the extra stuff isn't doable.
We were
Okay,
looking
I get it.
for this though, we were supposed to be looking at these battery backups like for a couple months now. So I'm just a little frustrated because Kurt, I feel like
Yeah, sure. We've been doing that too, but we've also got, 3 grants, and I've been, having, 25 power outages and generators failing and all these things going on and fixing leaks. And I mean, Terry was out on the leak watching us. She sees what we have to deal with. I'm in the hole too with these guys. So I'm doing all that. I haven't had time or the luxury to research batteries and solar because we didn't know that this was coming right now. You guys wanted to purchase generators. So that's what I've been trying to focus on. We also have Wolf Tank that's open. I'm worried about that's freezing. I had to order special made blankets, and we're trying to put heat lamps and all this kind of stuff. So I haven't had time to look at batteries.
well, I want to know why we're having. Never mind. I can't ask it on this.
Oh,
Right?
why we're having what?
Our engineer needs to be moving forward more quickly. What's
He is
going on?
moving. He is moving forward. We just had a job walk. The guys came up to bid. We're hoping that they're going to bid. They have till the 6th to get their bid in. The reason why they have to give them till the 6th is because originally Curtis said only till the 5th, but two out of the 3 said that's not enough time. We need at least 6 days, or they just won't even bid. They won't even care. HPS and Lyle's Construction both implied that they're so swamped right now with so much work, they needed that extra time. And then the third guy, I don't even know who that is, but Curtis is on it. We just met him up there at the tank. Apparently right now there's plenty of construction going on for drillers, waterworks people. I mean, there's plenty of work, so they don't necessarily have to get our bid.
Okay, well, I didn't know anything about any of this, so.
Well, I know it's just because we haven't had a board meeting till now. And I was going to update you guys on that.
So I have one question, Dave. If we put in for, let me ask this question. If we put in for a grant and we put in the numbers for a propane generator, if we, in the time before they approve it, if they approve it, is there anything with deciding to do like a battery and what we pay the extra cost? I mean, is there anything where the state's going to say, no, you can't do that if it's like an upgrade?
Is this with OES?
With OES, yeah.
I don't think they'd have much comment other than if it's at your own, if it's at your expense.
So basically, if they granted us, let's say, okay, for this one generator, they're giving us $30,000, and let's say we later on looked and have the battery, and we were able to do the battery, and it cost us an extra 5 or 10 grand. If we paid for it ourselves, they probably wouldn't have a problem with that.
I mean, that
We just have to put it in the report.
That's all I'm asking. I mean, I'm not saying that we would do that, but I'm just wondering if that
Well,
is an option.
well, you
for
could
the
just, I mean,
future.
you could build the booster station. I would assume that you could come back later on and just install the, and I've never done that, but have a battery. So you could probably add a battery onto it. So like I got solar on my house, but I don't have a battery backup, but we could add it at a later date. It's not going to hurt my solar, my funding or anything like that. It's separate.
Do you have any comments, Dee?
Well, I was just thinking about this. I think I think the technology is there, but I think it's very expensive.
Mhm.
And for the sizes that we're looking at, you know, I think it's something to look at down the road, but really our emergency generators are there to provide a backup in the event that we lose SunCal Edison. And you know, most people are using, in fact, not any of our clients are using a battery backup at this point in time. And I just think it's because it's expensive and we need to see what the technology, you know, kind of where it goes. This is.
Yeah, well, you know, I think we need to move forward as it is as a propane. I mean,
Mhm.
because I don't think we have the time like Johnny says. So I was just asking questions just to kind of feel, you know, and maybe we can upgrade later, maybe not, you know, I'm just throwing that out there.
And for the solar and stuff, I have talked to other water companies, and the issue with it is it takes so much land for the solar to help that for an office you can put, you know, covers over your parking lot and it's going to power the office or help. But when you're talking about the wells and stuff, I don't think it's going to help that much. It takes a lot of solar panels to generate that type of energy. So I still want to do it. I want to get it all. Anything to help with the electric bill is going to help, but I didn't see it as viable for this situation.
Yeah. Okay.
And they'd be vulnerable to people stealing them at our well sites.
Well,
They stole them right from Fraser Park School.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's why and you know, the generators are going to be a security issue enough to where we have to, you know, get steel cages, you know, welded around them and, you know, put the special locks like we put on the C train and all of those things to keep people from stealing that, which is another reason why I want propane, because propane isn't as big a target to steal as fuel is.
Well, not only that, but people steal solar panels a lot.
Well, they steal anything that's not nailed down.
Yeah.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Is there anything else from any of the directors on this? Any other comments?
I'm not a director, but I did send Tiffany just some adjustments in the narrative on the OES narrative. And I sent you folks also on the a 5-year budget, but not all the board, just the new ad hoc committee.
All right. Okay. And what were those adjustments for on the narrative? It just some wording or something?
Wording stuff. I mean, I would, instead of having single digits for like 1, just have spelled out 1 or 2 or 3 on some stuff, you know, 2 portable booster generators, 4.
Okay.
And some other, just some modification extension on that. So did you want me to send it to everybody?
Did you want it, Lisa?
No.
No.
I mean, Tiffany has it.
Okay. All right. So if there isn't any other discussion, there's a motion on the floor.
There's more discussion.
Okay.
We have to go through, there's a couple forms I need you guys to designate people on, so we have to go through those forms.
Okay. Well, let's
Oh,
do
yeah.
that.
About that.
Let's do that now.
So on that stapled packet, the one that starts with California Governor's Office of Emergency Services Grant Subaward Face Sheet, so that packet.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to page 2, project contact information, we have to designate a project director and financial officer are the most important on here. And then if you want to designate any other positions on that form, and then number 7 will fill in the chair.
Well, the financial officer should be Lisa Schoenberg.
Well, there's one weird thing on it because there's a spot for financial officer, but then there's an additional spot for, hold on a second, let me find that page. There's a spot for financial officer, but then there's an additional, the person having routine fiscal responsibility. So I don't know if that can be the same person.
What is it? What do they mean by routine financial?
Well, routine fiscal would normally be the board, but they're asking for a person. So, I mean, the only other thing I could think is it would be Johnny, in conjunction with, you know, we would agree on that, but, you know, I mean, I guess, I don't know, because we don't have I mean, I would say normally it's the whole board, or I guess it would be me.
I think you designate you and then me as a sub, and I think a lot of that's just going to be for reporting, not actually spending money, but being
Right,
able to say
because
this
shouldn't Johnny be the project director?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's still a little weird though, because it's, I mean, yeah, I think he would be.
Yeah, and even if, no matter how we label it, if you put, because underneath that we designate who it is, and then you
But
put
Johnny
other people
can't sign. We already have that it's supposed to be the president that signs. So then the project director would need to be the president, because we already have in some of our resolutions and stuff that Johnny's not supposed
So
to
then
sign.
so then the person having routine programmatic responsibility would be Johnny,
Yes.
and physical responsibility would be Johnny.
Yeah, I guess he could be routine programmatic and routine fiscal. I think then Jerry would be project director and I would be financial officer. But executive director would also be, I mean, it's just so weird because we're a board. So
I think the project director would be me. That's just organizing the project, and then
it cannot be. It cannot be, because the project director has to sign for everything. And we do not have you as an authorized signer unless we redo our resolutions and our.
No, I'm not saying that. I just thought the executive director could sign all of the forms that require money, and like when I signed the notice of exemption to file the simple stuff, then I could sign it.
No, because if you look at the very next page where it says signature authorization, that's not correct. They want the
Okay.
project director.
All right. I was just brainstorming it, not a.
I know, but that's not the way that their forms work. So their
All
forms require the project director to be, I believe, the president of the board or whoever normally signs for things.
So the project director would be Gerald Garcia.
Check.
Are we in agreement with that?
Yes,
Okay. The financial officer will be Lisa Schoenberg.
correct.
So the person having routine programmatic responsibility is Johnny Allison.
Correct.
The person having routine fiscal responsibility is Johnny Allison. The executive director would be Gerald Garcia, correct?
Okay.
The official designated by the governing board to enter into the grant would be Gerald Garcia, right?
Yeah, we had officials. I gotta sign it.
The chair of the governing body. Well, that's Gerald, isn't it? Lisa, do you?
No, I'm trying to read this. Hold on a second. The official designated by the governing board to enter into the grant sub award. That word
Well, the-
face.
The way we work it is the board decides. The board decides whether or not we're going to enter into an agreement or not. I'm merely going to sign the document as a representative of the board.
She has you, so on the certification of assurance of compliance, she already has you, Gerald Garcia, as official authorized to sign subaward. So that would be that person that they're saying is the official designated.
Yeah, so that would be Gerald Garcia.
Okay.
And the chair of the governing board is him because he's the president.
Yeah.
So number 7 would be Gerald Garcia. So did you get that? Get all that, Tiffany?
I do. Number 1, Gerald Garcia. 2, Lisa Schoenberg. 3, Johnny Ellison. 4, Johnny Ellison. 5, 6, and 7 are all Gerald Garcia.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
okay. Now we'll go to the signature authorization. Of course,
Dave, does that make sense to you? Do you see anything weird in that?
He's muted.
I think he took off a minute.
Or
Okay.
Oscar? I mean, I'm just wondering, since they do a lot of these, if they see anything that seems odd in that.
Absolutely. There are.
No, this is Oscar. It didn't sound odd at all to me.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so then we're on to the signature authorization.
Page 8.
Okay, project director would be Gerald Garcia and financial officer would be Lisa Schoenberg, and we need their signatures.
Okay, so no one below that.
And I don't know, the following persons are authorized to sign for.
I think you need to have either Johnny or the vice chair. I think probably the vice chair.
So that would be me.
Yeah, I think you could actually be on both of those as the project director or the
Financial,
sign for the financial officer, because you've done both of those and you're the vice president right now.
right, okay.
Sense to me. I mean, I guess we could also put under the project director, Johnny, if we were really in. So I think it would be you first and then maybe Johnny as well. Well, no, because I think that changes because I think, what's our resolution say? Do you remember, Tiffany? It says who's authorized.
It's general. It's director or authorized designee.
So I guess if it says that, then I guess we could put.
Yeah, so I think we should put my name and put Johnny's name under that, under the project director. And then you can put my name under the financial officer if you want. Because I'm kind of a backup for Lisa.
I guess theoretically we could even put Jerry if we.
Oh, what happened?
Sorry, somebody keeps calling me. I'm trying to decline it. So I guess it's possible we could also put Jerry under there, since he's also on the budget ad hoc and he's also the president. So I don't know. I guess you could have some backups in case anything happens. So maybe the backup on project director would be Director Nyman and then Johnny, and then the backup on financial officer would be Director Nyman and then Jerry.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
Agreed.
Okay. And that's the last thing that we need to on this, correct? Tiffany is,
On that form, yes, but we need
Okay.
to skip. ahead. So the form certification of assurance of compliance,
Yes, uh-huh.
project title. Any suggestions? I just pulled what was on the Cal OES forum, Community Power Resiliency Project.
I think that's fine.
And
Yeah.
the above named
No, the only-
subrecipient does not receive.
You know what I would do? I would add to that, maybe just put, if it's not too hard to change that, FPPUD, Community Power Resiliency Project. Just so it has our name on it.
They said don't change it.
Who said don't change it?
Didn't it say in filling out the form to not add anything to your answer?
Well, they didn't fill this in. That part that wasn't filled in, we filled that in.
As long as it's not the,
Oh.
as long as it's not the title of the project, because the title of the project is filed on the NOE already.
Oh, we already did an NOE?
Yeah. Yeah, it was suggested that I get it in, so I filed it yesterday at
needs-
the,
To say exactly what that says, so that's fine.
Okay.
Johnny, did the board approve the NOE?
No,
no. I suppose now they're gonna have to in retrospect, but I heard you said we needed to get it in, so I filed it.
Wasn't that the Wolf Project?
I did the Wolf Project and I also did the, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Let me see. No, you're right. It was the Wolf Project and not the, but did you approve the Wolf Project?
no,
NOE as well? Yeah. But the Wolf Project had to be filed before they awarded anything, so. So yeah, I did not do one for this.
before
this yet.
who, before we awarded the contract?
Yeah,
You have time to award the OES one.
yeah, I'm sorry. I
Or
was confusing the project.
do the notice exemption.
Well, can we? It doesn't even say that on the agenda, so is that something we have to put on the agenda for the next meeting?
Well, I think it all goes under, doesn't it fall under this under this thing? Because it's all part of an emergency to put it in. It should follow, we should be able to vote on that. Don't you think, Tiffany?
Are you trying to vote on Wolf NOE or
No,
on the OES?
not Wolf. We're on the OES NOE.
It's probably way too early for that. We could easily have that on the 12th. I mean, this is just the application. It's not even a project yet.
Let's make sure that we have that written for the 12th.
Okay, so let's have it for the 12th. Now, the other question is, so does that mean that we can put FPPUD in the project title and make sure that that's on the NOE? Is that what you're saying, Dave?
Yes.
Well, I'm just trying to be clear, because I mean, if we want to do that, because at first we said we couldn't change it because he already filed the NOE. If he hasn't filed the NOE, he can make sure that the NOE says for the project title is FPPUD, Community Power Resiliency, and we can change this to FPPUD, Community Power Resiliency. Is that what
If
we
they were-
want to do?
Do they require that? Do they require? Well, I mean, they don't ask for environmental documents, but it's.
Well,
better- it's not gonna
they're asking for on here on this grant for a project title.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay,
you
it says, right, and so Lisa was suggesting, because Tiffany put in Community Power Resiliency, she just wanted added FPPUD, Community Power Resiliency Project.
Yeah,
So isn't everybody in agreement that we change the project title to that? And And then when Johnny does the NOE, he'll put that in as that title.
Well, we would vote on that anyway, so we can vote on the NOE on,
Right, on the
And I
12th.
forgot that's far down the road. I would imagine we don't need to file that until we get ready to actually set them at the sites, correct?
Right.
And I think we might be covered for Wolf, just as an aside. It's not on here, but just because we did okay moving forward on that.
Yeah,
I think we're okay on that.
yeah. So we're gonna change the project title to FPPUD Community Power Resiliency, correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there anything else?
Yeah, Roman numeral 2, I put Johnny as the equal employment opportunity officer.
Yes, that would be
Okay.
fine.
Okay. And skipping ahead.
Now, quick question, Dave or Oscar or both. Do we need to have somebody who assures that we're doing equal opportunity on this? Like we have to have on other bids that go out? Like, do we need to hire somebody that's making sure that that's happening?
You mean your labor compliance?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be over $1,000, right?
Yep.
So,
Way over. So is it really Johnny as the opportunity officer, or you have to put in somebody who would be the compliance person?
Wouldn't we probably use that same person that we're going to use for the projects?
Yeah, probably, but I mean, I'm just wondering if we can put Johnny's name or we need to put a compliance person.
do they call for one?
It just says equal employment opportunity officer.
Okay, that's separate from labor compliance. So you could,
So Johnny can be on there.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's the person you'd contact if there's a concern on
Right.
labor, on equal opportunity.
Okay.
Okay, what's the next, Tiffany?
Next is go to page 1 of the project narrative. All the way at the bottom. That's my guess. Does anybody have a better number? It is common to lose, I put 10 to 12 days of power throughout the season.
Johnny would know that.
I mean, I know we did hours, I just don't know how many days on average throughout the season.
For the power outages?
Yeah, on this
Roughly-
one, you want to know how many?
Roughly 25.
That's on this one, huh? Okay, do you want me to up that to 25 days of power throughout the season?
Yeah, I believe I took the 25 days and times that by the amount of hours they said we're out of power. That's how I got the man hours.
Okay, yes, update that to 25 days.
25 days, okay. Next page. I'm not a meteorologist. Gust
You're not?
to 60? Is everyone okay with that?
60 miles an hour.
I know it's a little weird. I just don't want to give them too crazy of a number.
No, we definitely have 60 mile per hour. In fact, we've gone higher than that, but yes,
Well, you could put like 60 to 70.
we've gone as high as 100 here, but it's very unusual. But 60 and 70 is not unusual. Like 50 to 70, I would put, which is not unusual at all up here.
Okay.
So instead
50
of
to
up
70.
to, I would put gusts from 50 to 70 miles per hour. And that way you don't have an up,
Okay,
because we've gone up to higher than that. When my tree fell over a few years back, it was 100 mile an hour.
That's what I
And that
read.
would be it, unless anybody else has any typos or
Okay,
changes.
well, Dave has his updates that he sent you.
Right.
Okay. So we
That's
need
it.
to, so if that's it, we need to amend that, Jerry's, motion.
I-
Affirmative. Let me restate that.
Can I ask a quick question before we
Sure.
go to that?
Go ahead,
Just,
Director Schoenberg.
Is propane considered a clean energy source?
I know it's a lot better than the fossil fuels. I don't know if it's considered that or not.
Do you know,
It-
Dee?
You're saying that we can only do wind or solar?
No, I just want to know if it's considered. I want to know that if we're saying propane, if it's going to put us lower. I mean, I know we already talked about it, but I'm just curious if it's been considered, if it's something that is normally considered clean or not clean.
We can Google it real quick.
I can
too.
Google. I was gonna say the same thing. Go ahead, Tiffany. Google. Yeah. I know it's a lot cleaner than diesel fuel, which is what most of the generators are.
Well, because I know natural gas is considered clean, so that's why I'm asking. Because,
Well, it depends on who you're asking.
yeah, I know, but I'm asking that because it's, you know, it specifically says that in their grading of this, that they're giving, you know, it sort of gives points.
Well, that's because Newsom only wants air and solar.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
you
here's
gotta-
Google's answer.
where'd
It
you
said
find out?
propane has the lowest carbon content of any fossil fuel. So using propane minimizes carbon monoxide, hydrocarbon, and greenhouse gas emissions. Compared to
Perfect.
electricity, which is ultimately powered by coal or under nuclear power, propane is a much cleaner energy source.
Okay, so I would just like us to write that in somewhere, something to that effect on our narrative or somewhere. I don't know if it needs on
Okay,
both.
it's also going to have to be split then, or maybe we should change them to all stationary, because the towables would not be propane; they would be diesel fuel.
I mean, I don't have a problem with changing them to all stationary because we could always, if we needed to, I mean, if we needed to pull up a stationary, like if well 6 failed, which it shouldn't, it's been there for a while. The only reason I'm saying that is that we have money that we've set aside already for generators, so we could still pay additionally for a portable. The reason that I would almost like to have stationary is if for some reason we needed to be like running everything. It's in an emergency, it's hard to go like back and forth and to start towing something and get it up. You know what I'm saying? Like I would be behind the stationary more than the portable, and us spend our own money for the portable.
Okay, that's fine. Well, just when I get the quote, we'll just take the towables off and add 2 stationaries.
I mean, what's the rest of the board think about that? Because I also
I think we ought
One
to,
thing-
Go
I think we should try to get as much as we
Go ahead.
can.
Maybe we should put down the 6 stationaries and 1 portable.
I don't
Because
think that
You put
300,000
the
is
generator
probably
fails.
300,000 is probably not going to cover that. I mean, we had earmarked 300,000 just for the ones that we were buying, and that was like 4 with connection and everything. I don't know if it's going to be over 300,000 if we have 6 plus the connection fees. That's like 360, 300.
But
So
their
you
budget
ask
limit
for 6.
is 300,000 per
Right.
customer per bid.
Right. I mean,
I
you
think we
could
should just go with what we have and hope for the best. Hope we get it, because those propanes we still what I didn't also add, I haven't had time, is the propane tanks and the stuff that we got to add to each site as well. And I think we spent like $1,000. I think we spent like $1,000 on the propane tank that we have in the district yard. So
right. We have to add all that, but
be happy.
But I still propose that we put 6 propane and we just put some wording in that says that we're, you know, that we're using propane, which is considered a cleaner energy source, because like, you know, that's a big part of this grant is to try to get, you know, and so I think if we're emphasizing that in our descriptions, we're going to be better off getting it, because they award points to everything. And part of the, you know, part of that
Sounds good
is,
to me.
you know,
On
and I,
page 2, you want to change things on page 2.
I want to change,
Page 2 of the narrative.
I think, yeah, page 2 of the narrative, and I don't know if we also need to do that on the, let's see, the emergency plan. Priority
I'm back.
funding. Yeah, I think it, I mean, you could also put a blurb, I suppose, on the priority funding. I don't know what Dave thinks about that. Dave, do you think we just need that on the program plan, on the project narrative?
I think they will be the judge of whether or not propane is a clean energy source or not. We have an energy division, and we have towns that are trying to get natural gas, and there's a PG&E program, and they don't consider natural gas a clean energy.
They don't.
I just read
No.
some more. I just read some more on propane, and it says it emits virtually no air pollutants, and it's been recognized as a clean energy source.
I mean, the only reason I would
That's why
recommend.
They
Yeah,
said
the
that's
only
why it's allowed to be used indoors.
Yeah, the only reason I would recommend putting that in is it shows that we're thinking about it, even if we're not able to do battery right now or whatever. I still think that if we have some little blurb that says that we paid attention to them and we're trying to go with as clean a source as possible for what we're doing, you know, that we can't, that right now that, I mean, I think if the blurb had something about how, you know, that most water companies do not have the, you know, that there aren't, that solar and battery are not at the place yet where we can do them for the amount of budget that we're looking at, and that's the cleanest source that we could go with. I mean,
Short blurb.
Well, I don't know if you want to add that in because you really don't have that information. You're making a general statement, even though Dee says it's more, we haven't researched any of that. So we don't really know that. And they probably know more than we do. So we don't want to be trying to blow smoke. I mean, I think
Well, it could be added on there that it's considered an alternative fuel under the Energy Policy Act of 1992 for clean air.
I mean, I just want to put something in there that says we're thinking about it, because that is like one of the primary things that they have on this. It's right on the, like, you know, as soon as you go to their, it's like on the first page of their stuff, you know, it says, or first or second page or whatever. I mean, it's emphasized. So I just think that if we're telling them that we are paying attention to that, then I think that might help us a little bit.
Well, I'm in agreement with what Tiffany had found and what Johnny's saying.
Right. So if we can just like add a little blurb, I think that kind of just quotes that somewhere in there. And I'm just saying maybe just on the project, on the first narrative, the project narrative.
Can we just add, after it mentions the generators, that we're going to be using propane as a cleaner fuel source than diesel? Something to that effect?
Yes.
Perfect. Short, concise, and gets the message across.
Okay, so we're going to add that blurb in, and we're changing to 6 stationary. Are we changing to 6 stationary generators?
I would, because I think that we're still going to have enough money, hopefully, to purchase we're still researching it and thinking about the purchase of a portable one anyway, and we may even have enough for 2 if we were to get this grant. So.
Is everyone in agreement with that? Director Garcia?
Yes.
Yeah,
Director Gibson, Director
Well, if
Kelly,
we ask for 6, maybe we'll get 4.
maybe we'll get 6. Let's be positive. Okay, so we'll make that change, Tiffany, to 6 stationary generators and put in the blurb about, what we just discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it, Director Schoenberg?
Yeah, I'm gonna read back through this, but I think I can give Tiffany a call. I'm gonna read back through this just to make sure, because we're talking about the 2 portable generators. So I don't know how we would have to reword that little section.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Garcia, would you like to restate the
The obvious,
motion?
yes. Okay, I would move that we approve the submission of the application for the Cal OES Power Resiliency Grant with the corrections and updates added in the discussion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll
I
second that.
seconded it.
Okay, Director Gibson had seconded it before, so, so roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 501. And move on to,
What's the one? I thought it's 5-0. Who's the one?
I mean, 500. I'm sorry. Don't ask me.
Thank you. Thank you
My
for
my brain
clarification.
is, the one is my brain being absent.
Yeah,
That is the
It's our
frog.
imaginary board director. We've
Yeah,
added one.
exactly. Okay. Discussion and vote on resolution FP 2020-1029-01. Resolution to apply for grant funding under the Cal OES Community Power Resiliency allocation to the Special District Program.
And I just wanted to say, I asked Tiffany to do this. It doesn't say that we have to have this for this grant, but I just think it's a good idea to have a resolution on file.
Right. Well, it says
It
we
does
do have,
say,
it does say we have to do it, but we don't have to submit it.
it says that that it's not required.
Right, but then it says, the next, where I was reading somewhere, well, it doesn't matter.
Anyway,
Well,
I just think that it's a good idea to have resolutions on file, so.
It says,
so that-
that the resolutions are no longer required as submission documents. It says, but then it says, proof of authority from city council governing board. The applicant is required to obtain written authorization from the city council governing board that an official executing the agreement is in fact authorized to do so and will maintain said written authorization on file, ready and available upon demand. This requirement does not apply to state agencies. So it does require us to do it. It just doesn't require us to submit it with the application.
Well, I read the resolution and I found it no problems in it.
I also didn't see a problem.
I didn't see a
Did you
problem.
read it?
No, I didn't have time to read it. I'm reading it right now.
And I think it's perfect that we decided to do permanent, because actually on the resolution, it doesn't talk about anything, it doesn't talk about,
Yeah, it says install permanent generators.
right, so that makes it easier to just
Perfect.
move forward with this.
See how good Tiffany is? She knew that without even knowing it.
She knew what we were gonna do.
Okay, I'm okay with the resolution. So I would entertain a motion that we approve the resolution.
I will
Okay,
move.
so okay, go ahead.
Okay, who?
You.
I will move that we approve the resolution number FP 20201029-01.
Actually, I would like you to read the bold print on the resolution
The resolution of the governing body of Fraser Park.
where it said before the board of directors, read that whole section that we approve and that whole section.
Okay, I can do that. I move that we approve the resolution before the board of directors of the Fraser Park Public Utility District, resolution number FP 20201029-01 in the matter of resolution by the governing body of Fraser Park Public Utility District to apply for the grant funding under the Cal OES Community Power Reliance
Resiliency.
Resilience Allocation to Special Districts Program.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Schoenberg has seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
500, motion carried. Okay. On to discussion and vote on renewing the contract for the Cross Connection Control Program.
Johnny, this is the guy that worked for the state and now does it on his own?
Absolutely. And he changed nothing from his prior contracts. It's just an annual update, just an annual signing and changing the date.
Are
And
you happy with his work and results?
Absolutely. Yeah,
What would be your recommendation then?
sign it.
okay, and there's no change in cost or anything, right?
No changes in anything, just renewal.
Okay,
Do
and
we have
this
to
is,
change the date? Because it says the 20th.
Oh, I mean, that's don't really matter. That's when he sent it.
Oh, okay.
That's
No,
when he signed it. That's when David Wasserman signed
Yeah,
it.
and when Jerry signs it, he can just put today's date.
Right.
Okay.
right.
Okay.
And how long is this contract for? For a year?
The year, yeah.
1 year.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion that we approve this contract.
I'll move that we renew the contract for the Cross Connection Control Program.
Okay, with who? With, can you say the guy's name,
Absolutely.
please? Thank you.
Absolutely. 1 second here. Let me find it. With David C. Wasserman, sole proprietor.
Of
And Cross
CCSS,
Connection
Right.
Specialist Services.
right, okay, perfect. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Director Gibson has seconded. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Before we go, can I ask a question? I think we answered
Sure.
it, but is 1,800 the exact same price or did it change?
I already asked that and he said it didn't change.
Said he
Okay.
made 0 changes. He just re-signed it.
Okay.
Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
500, motion carried. And so that's it. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, do I hear a second it? Director Kelling has seconded it.
I'm sorry. Wasn't there something, Tiffany, that I'd asked you and now I can't remember that we needed a date, that we needed to get a date on? Something.
So that was for talking to Scott from BHK
Right.
about the asset list.
Okay, so it's not on here. So I guess if you could just put that asset list on the next agenda, and we'll figure that out.
Okay, so the motion is on for Director Kelling has seconded it. So roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 500. We are adjourned at 1:43.
And then Director Nyman,
Yeah.
I need to ask you ad hoc questions so we can put it on the calendar for payment. I need to just ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
Go away.